Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another meal prep video. So we're going to meal prep again. I have two different lunches and I have breakfast that I am super excited about, and I cannot wait to try it. But first up, I want to show you guys this knife that was sent to me. This video is not sponsored. They just sent it to me, asked me if I would do a review or try it out. I said, sure, why not? I have never had like a fancy knife. This is from Nakano. I will have them linked down below, and plus if you use the code Journey to Healthy, you can get a discount as well. And I hear a lot of people say all the time how important it is to have like a really good chef's knife. But until I got like the butcher block of knives that I got from my son, I believe it was last Christmas or the Christmas before, I think it was last Christmas, I never really like had like super nice knives. I've always just bought them at Walmart. But I'll tell you guys, it really does make such a difference to have a really sharp knife. I'm just always been a little scared of them because I'm a little clumsy. But I'll tell you, when you cut yourself with a dull knife, that's not good either. So I used this knife throughout my entire meal prep, and I'll tell you it's really sharp, it's really comfortable to hold. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, the handle was nice the way it was. It just sliced right through everything. So yeah, it's a nice knife. Like I said, I will link them down below. I looked at their website. They have a ton of different knives. They have knife sets. But I'd be curious to hear from you guys. How many of you have like a dedicated chef's knife, a really good one that you spent some good money on? Is it something that you recommend to other people? Because I'm just curious to know, because I have had quite a few people tell me that, yeah, they spend some money on them. Now, I used to work in restaurants when I was younger, and that was one thing that they all said. They all had their own knives that they actually brought with them to work. So it's interesting how, chefs and cooks and stuff will have like their favorite knives, and they actually do bring them with them. So it's interesting. Anyway, so yeah, check out that description box, and you'll see it down below. But I think this knife's just really pretty. I really liked how it looks and everything. So if you'd like to check out the website, then feel free to do so. Now, we are meal prepping today, a couple of lunches and a breakfast, like I said. First up, though, we have that task of getting everything cut up. So I had a poblano, I think that's how you say it, pepper. I've never had it before, never tried it before. I cut up half of it, but I'll tell you a little sneak peek. I ended up cutting up the rest of the green bell pepper and the rest of the poblano pepper and using it in my meal prep. I didn't think I would need that much, but then after cooking, I realized, yes, I did. And then also we have a red bell pepper here that we're cutting up, and that's going to be for the low carb taco casserole, which I've made tons of times, and I've showed it to you like many times, and I've showed different variations that I've done of it. So you'll see how I'm doing today's variation. So the red bell pepper is going to be for that. And then we have some strawberries we need to cut up, some green onions, and then also some cilantro. Like I always say, you guys, it helps me so much to have my produce all pre-cut for the week. I didn't need to cut up any carrots because I bought some pre-cut carrots, and I still have some of those in my refrigerator. I bought the mini cucumbers this week that I'm going to use for some Greek bowls. So I'll probably just wait to cut up the cucumbers because they're a different brand, and I know the other brand that I use will hold up really well when I cut them up ahead of time, but I've never got this brand before. I got these ones from Safeway, and so I'm just a little nervous about cutting them up because I know that there can be some issues with cucumbers getting kind of slimy and not lasting. So I think I'm going to wait till the day I have the cucumbers with my Greek bowls, and then that's when I will cut up the cucumbers and have for hummus. So at the beginning of the week, I'm just going to use my carrot sticks to use up my hummus, and then we'll have the cucumbers later in the week. So that's why you're only seeing what I have here. With strawberries, I have to cut them up or I will not use them all. I have a lot of people ask me how I keep them fresh all week. I never have any issues. I just cut them up and they just stay really fresh the whole week. I put a little paper towel in the bottom of my dish that I put them in, and I put them in a plastic container, so I don't really know what the secret is. I rinse them off. I make sure they're really dry before I start slicing them up. I don't use any special like cleaner. I know some people will use like vinegar and all of that, and I don't know. I don't like, people will say that you can't taste the vinegar on them. I personally have found that I can taste the taste of vinegar on them. So I just rinse them really well. And I don't know. I mean, some people may not agree with that, but that's just how I do mine. I know you can do them with baking soda as well, and I have done that. But honestly, I have not had any issues with just rinsing them and then drying them off really well. So the other thing I like to really rinse really well is cilantro, because it is really dirty because, I mean, it's coming onto the ground. But I will rinse my cilantro for a long time, and then I pat it dry, and then I rinse it again, because I just noticed that I can still get a lot of dirt out of it. So always rinse that really well. I always use a plastic cutting board when I cut up my strawberries, because I noticed that my wooden ones will get stained up. So I have this plastic one that my mom gave me, and so I use this one to cut up my strawberries, and sometimes also to cut up meat. That way I'm not, like I said, staining up my good wooden ones. So this is the container that I always use for my strawberries. Like I said, don't have any issues. I just cut them up and put them on top of the paper towel, and they last all week. I'll use these strawberries for yogurt bowls this week. I think I'm going to have yogurt bowls for dessert this week, because I've been noticing that if I eat something, you know, kind of like that kind of thing, like right after dinner, then I'm not like craving anything, not wanting any like sweet stuff. And so I'm just going to do a yogurt bowl with some strawberries and then some of that Catalina Crunch that I picked up, the fruity cereal flavor one. So if you watched my grocery haul, if you have not watched it yet, go watch that and you'll see what I'm talking about. So that's what the strawberries will be good for this week. Also, you'll see I'm going to make a French toast bake. So if it wasn't, the one I'm making is caramel, but if I wasn't doing caramel, the strawberries would also be a nice topping to that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish up cutting up all my veggies, and then we'll move on to the first meal we're making for the week. And here is all the nice fresh veggies all cut up. I always just like to look at these because it just looks so fresh. See, I have my peppers here, but I did, like I said, end up using those later on in the meal prep. Now on to our first meal, which is going to be a French toast bake. We're going to do a pumpkin caramel one. I was inspired by a TikTok person recipe I found this on. I will have her link down below. I was trying to find her Instagram. She doesn't have an Instagram. So I'm going to try this Nature's Own Life keto bread. Never tried it before. We have the 100% pure pumpkin, some salted caramel protein shake. Use whatever kind of protein shake you want, but if you want it to be caramel, you better use the caramel. We need some egg whites, and then some pumpkin pie spice, of course. And then for toppings, I'm going to use this Jordan Skinny Syrup salted caramel sauce and some walnuts. So let's go ahead and put this together. It's so easy. And we're going to make three single serving ones. So first you're going to need 2 slices of bread per serving that you make. So you just want to slice these up into cubes. And the reason why I picked out this bread was, one, it's low points, low calories, low carb, and it's really thick compared to, like, say, the Sara Lee one. And then we're going to do a 1/4 cup of protein shake. Again, if you don't want to make the salted caramel, you can just use a vanilla protein shake. Then we're going to use a 1/4 cup of egg whites. And then we're going to also add in a 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. I went ahead and just measured it out because I could, a lot of people like say, you never say the measurements of your spices. Well, I don't really measure my spices quite often, to be honest. We need a tablespoon of pure pumpkin. Make sure it's the pumpkin, not the pumpkin pie filling. So we're just going to do pumpkin. And then you want to go ahead and whisk that together. Now, pumpkin pie spice is really hard to whisk, but it's just kind of like cinnamon. It's hard to whisk. So I went ahead and grabbed my little hand whisker that, I use for my coffee creamer and things like that. So ended up actually getting that out, and it worked really well to really whip it up and whisk it. So if you have one of these little handheld ones, highly recommend it if you're trying to mix anything with cinnamon or pumpkin pie spice, because it really helps get it mixed up in there. Plus, egg whites tend to separate, and I feel like this really helped it from separating. I'm spraying my little serving dish in with cooking spray, adding in the 2 slices of cubed up bread, and then we're just going to pour that egg protein shake mixture on top, and like that. The original creator of this recipe did use a vanilla protein shake, so definitely, and that's what I was going to do until I decided I wanted to do salted caramel pumpkin. And I'm going to go ahead and press down the bread cubes with a spoon, and that'll just kind of help make sure everything gets all nice and coated. And the recipe says to cook this at 400 for 20 to 25 minutes. And I'll tell you that mine took 25. So I took it out of the oven and I just kind of mixed it around just to kind of see if it was still wet. And there was still a little bit of wetness. Now I know that eggs tend to cook a little bit more even after you take them out of the oven, but I still just wanted to make sure. It just seemed really liquidy. So I did 25 minutes is what I ended up doing. And then when they came out of the oven, they look like this. And I'll tell you, the bread cubes are so nice and crispy. And I cannot wait to try this. I'm going to try it on camera with you guys in one of my videos next week. And then just for some added fun, this is totally optional. I'm adding on some of the Jordan Skinny syrup, salted caramel, and I'm just going to add just literally like 2 walnuts on top. And then when I have it, I'll heat it up and have some of this Lakanto maple syrup on top. So again, I will try this on camera on Monday, and then it'll be in my weekly What I Eat in a Day video, and you'll see it there, and we'll do a live taste test. I cannot wait to try this, y'all. Next up, we have a low-carb taco casserole, which I've made a million times for you guys, but it's one of my favorites. I'm using lean ground chicken. You guys know I've made it with turkey. I've made it with beef. Make it with whatever you want. I'm going to use up some chopped onions. We have our red bell pepper. We have our taco seasoning. I do have a video on how to make my DIY taco seasoning. Just look up DIY spice blends on my channel. We have some rice cauliflower and then some reduced fat Mexican style cheese. So the first thing we're going to do is pan fry the cauliflower rice, which I did cook the cauliflower rice a little bit in the microwave for about 4 minutes just to soften it up. This is the part that I deviate from the original recipe. I will have the original recipe linked down below, but you'll see that they don't really do anything to the cauliflower rice. I have made this so many times that I know how I like it. So I put the entire bag, and like I said, I did put the bag in the microwave for about 4 minutes just to make sure it was nice and, not frozen, really not completely frozen all the way through, which makes it a little bit easier. And then, like I said, pan frying it kind of takes the moisture out, which just makes it kind of drier. Now this is where I'm going to do something different. I'm going to add in this tomato bouillon, which I like to use as a quick like Spanish rice kind of hack, where you just put this in there and it just adds like a tomatoey flavor. You could also use tomato paste if you like. I have used that in the past, but ever since I discovered this tomato bouillon, I like to use this in place of that. You can find it in any store. I think I found this at Safeway or Fred Meyer, wherever you want. And again, I think this just adds an extra flavor to this part of the layer. And like I said, the original recipe does not do this. So if you want to stick to the original recipe, just follow that. I'll have a link down below. Or you can have look at my little hacks that I've made. I've also put rotel tomatoes in this before to add a little bit of flavor. But I'm also adding veggies to this layer. So we're going to add some red bell pepper. We're going to add some onions. Again, this is totally different than the original recipe and different than what, I don't always do this step in here every single time. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for or how much time I have. But I just believe in every layer, especially of a casserole, like it really should have a lot of flavor. So that's why I'm kind of going above and beyond of every layer of this casserole. We're going to mix that around until really, I'll show you what it looks like. You're going to really make that rice really crispy, like get it kind of brown on the pan where you kind of have those flavor, things stuck to the bottom of the pan. That's really what you're looking for. And so I'm just going to go ahead and stir that around, and we'll also add in some taco seasoning as well. So like I said, I have my DIY spice blend on my channel, so you can just go to my channel, look at my videos, and just search for DIY spice blend, and you'll see this taco seasoning one. I make this all the time, but I also no shame to use the packaged one. I always have packaged ones for backup in my pantry as well, because I make a lot of Mexican, Spanish style recipes, you guys know, and so I don't want to ever run out of taco seasoning. It has happened. So this is what it's going to look like really when I feel like it's done. We're just kind of starting to stick to the pan because it's just kind of crispy and it just really reminds me of rice. Then you're going to take your casserole dish, and I did spray this with some cooking spray, and this is going to be your first layer. Now, normally I use a little bit of a taller dish, but I was using that for something else. So I'm really patting this down nice and thick. But also if you really pat the layers down, then it comes out all really nice. So because this is cauliflower rice, it can kind of fall apart really easily. But if you really pat it down nicely in this casserole dish, it stays together after you cook it. And I'm just going to use the same pan for my ground chicken because who wants to wash it in between? And plus we're putting all the same flavors into this meat. So nope, I did not stop to clean my skillet. So I'm just going to really add in the same things, except for I'm not going to add in the tomato bouillon. I'm just going to add in the red bell peppers. We're going to do some onion and then also, of course, some taco seasoning, which I will add in here in a little bit. Now, this ground chicken is super lean. It says it's 90. The package didn't say on it what, if it was like 96% lean, 98% lean, but it did say it has 4 grams of fat, so I'm guessing it's 96% lean, but I did not get any fat out of this at all. I think it's closer to 98%, but I don't know. I'm just going with what the nutrition facts say. So I did end up adding just a little bit of water after I added the taco seasoning because I just needed a little bit more moisture. If you use like a fattier meat, then of course you're going to have a little bit of that fat on there, but this chicken does not have any fat at all. So this is what it looks like after you put the taco seasoning in and after everything's all cooked through. And then we're just going to add that on top of the cauliflower rice. And again, we're just really going to pack that in there really well. And like I said, I've used everything in this: beef, turkey, chicken. They're all about the same as far as how it tastes. And then the last layer is going to be some cheese. So you're going to add on 1 cup of shredded cheese. I'm using the reduced fat Mexican style cheese. Just add on 1 cup of that. And then this is going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. You're really just melting the cheese. And then it's just all up to you what you want to do to it. So again, I kind of mix it up all the time. Here's what it looks like. These are what I'm going to use right now. I'm going to combine the Greek yogurt and the mild taco sauce to kind of make a little sour cream. We're going to add on some shredded lettuce. We have some cilantro, green onions, and then of course our Tostitos queso blanco. So this is that yogurt mixed with the mild taco sauce. And then I added on the lettuce, the cilantro. You can add on tomatoes. And then I'll add on the queso blanco when I eat it. I'm just not going to add it on ahead of time right now. So I'll heat this up, add on some of that cheese, and then we have a yummy low-carb taco casserole. Now we're going to do one more taco thing using this beef shaved steak. I get this at my Kroger store, and it's really nice. So I weighed out 4 ounces because 2 ounces is a serving, and you actually get quite a bit. You get quite a bit because it's so thin. But I did end up taking a lot of the fat off because there's so much fat on this, and I just felt like it was going to get kind of gristly. So I ended up taking quite a bit of the fat off, the real fatty pieces. And I also tried to, separate this out. But yeah, this is 4 ounces. So it'll be 2 servings. That's what I'm going to make for this. So I'm going to have 4 lunches this week. I do have a lunch engagement one day this week. And so that's why I only need 4 lunches versus 5. So we're going to go ahead and get this all separated. And then we're going to put this all together. So we have our steak. And then we have our poblano pepper and our green bell pepper. Now this recipe also calls for mushrooms, but you guys all know I don't do cooked mushrooms. I prefer raw mushrooms. So if you want to add mushrooms to this, go ahead. And then I'm going to add green onion on top. That's nice and fresh. I'm not going to cook the green onion. I'm just going to add it on top after it's done being cooked. So definitely tell me if you try this and you have the mushrooms. I wish I was a cooked mushroom fan, but I'm not. I am not at all. Oh, and then of course we're going to add our taco seasoning on there too, because this is like a taco bowl. This kind of reminds me of like fajitas after I started making it. So we have our pan here. So we added some more of the onion. We have the poblano pepper and the green bell pepper. And it was at this point that I was like, okay, this is supposed to be 2 servings. Honestly, I like a ton of veggies in my taco bowls. So I decided quickly, I went and cut up the rest of that poblano pepper and the rest of the bell pepper, and I threw it in here. So that way we would have lots of veggies. And I'm just cooking this until, and I actually have 2 pans going. So I'm trying to do this holding the camera, trying to stir this at the same time. I wasn't real successful. So we are going to still continue to saute this, and we're going to add in our taco seasoning. And I didn't really measure it. I just kind of just tossed some in. And then we're going to add in our steak. So now the steak, the only problem with the steak again is so thin that it just really sticks together. So I ended up just getting some tongs out, and that worked so well. So if you use this type of like really thin shaved steak, then highly recommend tongs because it works really well. But you just have to kind of work with this. I turned my heat down to 6. I cooked my veggies on about 7. And I turned this down to 6 because I kind of wanted to cook the meat like low and slow because I knew it would cook up really fast, but I didn't want it to get real tough. So I just added in some taco seasoning. I ended up adding in just a little bit more after this because once I started stirring it just did not seem like it was enough. And then after the steak cooked a little bit, I tasted it and I still wanted to add in some more. Now, I personally did not add any salt and pepper in only because my taco seasoning has salt and pepper in it. So since I knew that, I didn't want to add any more in there. And this is what it ended up looking like. And we're just going to separate this out into 2 different dishes here. And then I just put some of that Tostitos queso blanco here on the side. So I'll just put some of that on top after I heat it up. And this will be one of my yummy lunches for the week. So it's kind of taco themed this week. Also, I didn't really plan it. Really went really low carb this week for lunches, which is just fine with me. It just sounded really good. I saw these 2 recipes and it sounded really good. And I always love my low carb taco casserole. I've been actually kind of craving it lately. So thank you guys, as always, for taking time out of your day to watch my videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And everything is linked down below. So check out the description box for recipes and links. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.